Welcome to Fox 8 Extra. I'm Stefani Schaefer. We're talking about mental health today. It is, without a doubt, one of the biggest issues right now that our country is facing. But it used to be difficult to find the proper help. It was even difficult to talk about. And that's how PEGS Foundation was formed because of that. Joining me is President and CEO of PEGS, Rick Kellar. Rick, thank you for being with us today.
No, thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to this discussion because it is something that for so many years was really not talked about. And if it was, there was some sort of stigma associated to mental health. And it seems that all of us are going through something in some way, and more help is needed. Let's talk about your background real quickly as U.S. Special Forces. Amazing.
Sure. So yeah,
and you grew up here.
I'm a born and raised Northeastern Ohio kid, and had the opportunity to go to the United States Military Academy at West Point, and then ultimately served as a Green Beret, both on active duty and then also as a reservist all the way through 2014. And it's interesting, when I came to the foundation, like you can ask me about it, but I never thought that my experience as a military officer would be so applicable in the space of mental health.
No kidding.
Yep.
And why is that?
You know, you mentioned as we started this conversation that in our country there's a lot of stigma, and oftentimes in philanthropy or even in public policy, the willingness to talk about mental health, behavioral health, substance use conditions, all of that stuff is hard to talk about, and there's a lot of stigma around it. And even at our foundation, our founder Peg Morgan and her husband Bert often struggled with sharing that story about their son and their personal experiences with schizophrenia, which is the condition that their son has.
So let's go right to PEGS. What is PEGS? And
Sure.
You mentioned
Right.
who PEG is, and it all started in Hudson, Ohio,
Right.
and back in the 60s. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
so the Morgan family founded two philanthropic foundations. So the simple way of thinking about a philanthropic foundation is you give money away for a living. But that's not really what we do, but that's a way to think about it. Hey, we're a foundation that folks can come to and say, hey, I've got an idea, I'm a nonprofit, I want to make a difference in a mission area that would align with what we do. In 1967, they founded the Bert and D. Morgan Foundation to honor Bert's interests, free enterprise and entrepreneurship. And usually folks that found foundations have resources, they've had success in business. And Bert had great success in the pressure-sensitive adhesives business. But all along, and then 3 children, 2 daughters, and the youngest was their son, Dave. But they struggled as Dave entered his late teens, early 20s, discovered that, hey, our son has serious mental illness. He had inpatient hospitalizations, had suicide attempts, all the difficult, tough things that happen. And it created some division in the family even. And so in the late 90s, early 2000, ultimately 2001, they founded a second foundation to honor PEG's interests and specifically see what we could do to help philanthropically the issues around serious mental illness. So we do, PEG's Foundation, founded in 2001, mental health, arts, and education are sort of the founder interests and focus areas for us.
And this is personal for you.
It is.
In you being involved with this.
It is. I first came to the foundation in 2005. And I knew the Morgans growing up in town, not super close or personally. We went to the same church. And I had come back, I got to meet Bert, and I knew some of the struggles that they were having raising one of their grandchildren, Dave's daughter, and just became friends with them in that way. And when I had the opportunity, Bert had passed away in 2003. I was super close to Peg Morgan and had the chance to come to the foundation in 2005. And I remember thinking on day one, man, we give money away for a living. This is easy. And it was with great arrogance that I arrived, right? As a West Point grad, MBA, and I'm gonna hey.
Special Forces Green Beret.
This is Special Forces Green Beret, right? And I'm just gonna show up and what an easy job. Well, it's easy if you only think of you're donating money. It's hard if you think of yourself as an investor. And how do you really shape the landscape of behavioral health? And so I showed up, and then I also realized and I didn't know anything about behavioral health or mental health until then finally as our youngest daughter was growing up, had some serious anxiety and emotional struggles, and ultimately landed in one of the services we had helped set up at Akron Children's Hospital, is one of the first folks that ended up in an intake at the emergency room. And it's kind of like things come home, right, Stephanie?
So you got involved first and didn't have that personal
I
connection
didn't
yet
have
with your daughter or brother.
I did not.
Wow.
And
I mean, I guess that goes into when we always talk about fundraising and doing those things and saying,
Right.
you hope that you never need these services or that you never need this, but, and as you said, it hit
Right.
closer to home than you think. Like, wow, this is actually happening in my own home.
No, that's it. And it's funny because you mentioned my brother. So I have two older brothers. I lost the middle one to an accident, but my middle brother, Mark, had a suicide attempt that I actually saved him from when I was in high school.
I'm so
and
sorry.
I never
Wow.
really connected the dots of I think about this as we all have the opportunity to live in denial when it comes to mental health and behavioral health and addiction issues. And our foundation hopes to invite people to not live in that isolation, to move mental health from the darkness to the light, and let's care for each other as we would want people to care for us. And there's an opportunity to get folks in recovery, to get folks like Dave stable, using whether it's medication or therapy, and to live a fulfilling life and be in relationship with somebody. I mean, that's all, that's it. And it's possible. And I think for too long, our health systems and our country has not done a great job of supporting that opportunity. So we're here to help do that.
How's your brother now and your daughter?
So my daughter's awesome. Like I do this sort of presentation where I show a period of my daughter's life where she self-harmed and wouldn't allow her picture to be taken. She's pregnant. She's going to have a baby on November 15th.
Congratulations.
Her and her wife are, and that was part of the struggle she went through, was an orientation, and we are celebrating this great. She's doing awesome.
Great.
So hers was an
so
episodic.
happy to hear that. Thank God. Yes.
Yeah. So it's things are good.
Yeah,
Things are good
good.
when you decide to have hope and when you decide to be honest about the things that affect us.
Well, and I think things are changing now too. There's so much more awareness and
Right.
less stigma. And even when people just say at work, like, I'm taking off, I need a mental health day, like that is actually now respected. And before, you couldn't really say that. You had to have like a physical problem that would, that you.
You're exactly right. Like I think about, the pandemic and COVID was very challenging and difficult, and the residual effects of it still remain. But one of the positive outcomes of the pandemic was that folks were willing to talk about their personal well-being. Schizophrenia, a biological illness that we don't know the cause, that typically will need medication. We don't even have the right medications yet. But even just depression, if it's episodic, in the case of my daughter, not lifelong severe mental illness, but an episodic one. And so the pandemic gave us the opportunity to talk about it. And there's a generation coming up that are half my age that regard each other differently. I'm like an old guy now, and I can remember, I want to make sure I don't ever sound like my dad too much, but this next generation, they're whatever. Well, you know what they are? They're charitable. They care. They lean in, and they're honest about how they feel. And they care about their community in a way that I'm not sure I did when I was their age. And
they don't seem to be labeling and judging like
yes.
many people grew up in
Exactly.
the past.
Right.
They are kind of over
Yep.
that. Doesn't matter.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's an opportunity for us as a country, and the opportunity as a foundation to be present, whether it's local, state, or national conversations around mental health and addiction, and to help shape policy that's smart and not just reactive.
And that's what PEGS is doing.
Absolutely.
So talk about some of that, and I understand you even go to the White House and you're involved in some of these discussions. I mean, it takes kind of like boots on the ground and people like you guys in Hudson,
Right.
Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, to say, this is what's happening in our area. So what are you guys doing then to help and get some outreach going?
Yeah, Ohio's a neat state, and not because we're all biased, right? I'm here, right?
Because we're Buckeyes, right?
And oh, by the way, in case anyone wasn't paying attention last night, there was an amazing walk-off win. Peg was a huge Indians, Guardians fan, and we're really excited. We were on a 4-day strategic planning retreat, and on the last day of the retreat, the season ended and that happened. So we're pretty excited.
It's good,
and we're
right?
going, hey, so sorry.
It's our blood. It runs deep.
We view Ohio as a place where you can pilot things that can inform the nation. And many other states look to replicate each other's policies, but oftentimes they'll say, well, I don't look like Oklahoma, or I don't look like California. But when Ohio does something unique or interesting around social services, states copy it. So that's an opportunity for us to bring pilot examples from our state to places like inside the Beltway at DC, to California. I'm part of that, I mentioned CO Alliance, where when I first came to this job, there's organizations that wouldn't even talk to each other. Sometimes our guilds are their own worst enemies. And what I've seen change, and Peg's Foundation has been part of that, is to get those groups together, talking about what they agree on, not what they disagree on. Like a psychiatrist doesn't necessarily appreciate everything a psychologist does, and vice versa. But when you have those two big organizations nationally talking to each other on a bi-weekly, I'm on a call this afternoon with that group of 15, and we work together on the things that we think matter most for our country, and then we can bring that message to the executive branch. And we've been doing that since before this administration. We continue to do it during this one. And you might be surprised at how willing administrations are to listen to you when you have a unified message from those variety of stakeholders.
We've come a long way, but more work needs to be done.
Absolutely.
What are your goals right now? What, especially with PEGS, what are you guys now
That's
working
a great
toward?
question, because we finished our new 5-goal strategic framework yesterday. We believe at our foundation that we can model in Ohio. We're partnering with some folks in Texas and Michigan as well. We can model a behavioral health emergency response that allows, when police and/or alternative responses are deployed, to assist an emergency situation where somebody's in a behavioral health crisis.
Sure.
that person, that can get de-escalated rather than escalated. It can ultimately result in that person, if need be, being taken somewhere to be made safe, and then get them, if need be, the further continuum of care in order to not have them be in that situation again. It helps police, it helps social work, it helps
The families.
that individual and their families. And it creates a safer environment for folks that are honestly dealing with more often a medical problem than they are intending to disrupt the peace.
So much more work needs to be done,
Yes.
no doubt. We love what you guys are doing, and the mission
Thank
is
you.
amazing. And we hope you stay close, because we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we are going to tell you about how a small art gallery here is leading a huge conversation about mental health. Don't miss it. More of Fox 8 Extra when we return. Stay close. Back once again with PEGS Foundation CEO Rick Kellar, and also we're joined by Courtney Cable, who is the lead of arts and communication at PEGS Foundation. Thank you. Welcome for you.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Rick, real quick, talk about PEGS' mission. And I love the whole think bigger, which has led you guys to huge things, which kind of goes right into Courtney.
So core mission is to improve the lives of folks that have serious mental illness in the state and the nation. And you think about philanthropy as like, hey, here's this small foundation in Northeastern Ohio that does this mental health thing, and then they support arts and education. How can you be present in Washington, D.C.? How can you think of your work nationally? And the answer to that is our founder said, that's her words, that's her quote, think bigger. And so we embody that by everything we do, whether it's a small walk sponsorship support in Summit County or Cuyahoga County, or if it's, hey, we help with a documentary that premiered at the White House 6 years ago around youth mental health. So it's everything we do is to think bigger. It's one of the reasons why we're here with you today. And it's one of the reasons that we were able to invest and build a very unique gallery space to share art for the people.
And that leads us right into Courtney. Tell us about this special gallery.
Sure. So they just built a new gallery. It just opened last October in 2024, and it's called Peg's Gallery. It's open to the public Monday through Saturday, and we're going to have rotating shows throughout the year that's always open to the public. And so we've encouraged people to come through the doors.
And Kenny Crumpton highlighted this year, and we were all blown away here in studio when it's Salvador Dali, and it goes right along the lines of
Right.
Peg's mission of think bigger. So you open a new gallery, and wow, you just get some Dali things in there. I mean, that is fascinating. So many major art galleries cannot do that.
Sure. And the nice part about that particular show was there were 3 connections. There was us with mental health and art. Skabal, which is a high-end men's clothing company, actually commissioned Salvador Dali to create paintings that would envision what fashion would look like in the future. And then the connection with the Kent State School of Fashion, which Peg Morgan had a love for fashion and illustration in her past. And so there were all those connections for supporting education in the arts through that, the knowledge connected with creating new pieces inspired by these Dali pieces that were shown in the gallery.
How neat. How, so many people turn to art when they're dealing with whatever, and it really helps as their therapy. Talk about how art is really helping a lot of people dealing with mental health.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity for expression, whether it's through music or dance, movement, poetry, writing, physical illustration, painting. I mean, I love it when someone asks, "Oh, are you an artist? What do you paint?" Well, there's so many more opportunities, different mediums that you can express yourself in, and I think that's really important, and that's something that we want to highlight within the gallery, all those different mediums. And I really do feel that it's important for people to have that self-expression, whether it's just doing it on your own or sharing it with friends in a fun, warm environment, or if they're on a different scale of actually creating multiple pieces and presenting it as an artist. That's something that's really
It really truly is, because sometimes that's their way that they can express what is happening inside by getting it out, and maybe it's not talking about it.
I really do feel that it is the artists that are kind of the canaries in the coal mines, and so they have that expression that is just innate within them that they have to express, they do express. And so whenever you're paying attention, and it's easier to understand, at least for me, I'm a visual learner, it's easier for me to understand information whenever it's presented in a visual way. And you have different senses that you're picking up on, and so you have this different understanding that's coming together whenever you're experiencing the artwork.
What were the reactions to the Salvador Dali?
Oh, it's tremendous.
Gallery?
So, nod to Cleveland, there was actually a collector in the region, and over the course of time, there were so many people that came to the gallery with enthusiasm for Salvador Dali, because many years ago, they actually went to see the artwork in that collection, which now I've been told was the artwork, the initial artwork collection started the museum, the Salvador Dali Museum down in Tampa, Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And so they were so enthusiastic to come and see it, and they're like, "What is this new gallery? We heard Dali's in town. We want to come and see it." Yeah.
Gosh. Where's the gallery located?
So it's right downtown Hudson. It's right in the corner of 303 and 91.
Sure.
And so there's a new building in town. If you haven't seen it yet, you can find it. It's 53 First Street in Hudson, Ohio.
Beautiful. And Hudson, just so beautiful. Now you have a new display that's getting started. Tell us about that.
Sure. So we're deinstalling the Salvador Dali pieces today and shipping them back to Belgium, which is incredible.
Wow.
And Kent State School of Fashion pieces are gone also. And so the next show, we're going to have 3 artists. It will be Peter Christian Johnson, who's ceramicist, Janice Lessman Moss, who's fiber and weaving, and then sculptor Brinsley Terrell. And so we have this combination of 3 professional artists who have had a lifetime career of creating artwork, and we're excited to put this on.
So when does it all premiere and debut?
Sure. So next Thursday, October 9th, from 5 to 7 p.m., the public is welcome to come and join us. It's a free opening reception. And we'll have some live music, we'll have some jazz, and you'll get to meet the artists as well.
How wonderful. And this will be up for display for how long? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so we're coming into the holiday season, and
Great.
so we're going to be up through the end of January with this exhibit.
Wonderful. How can more people get involved? You mentioned some walks and some things that, so how else, I know you're doing fundraising, trying to get more people involved, but also more financial support too.
Yeah, local NAMI chapters are always a way to get connected, particularly if you're a family or a family member that is challenged by somebody in your family that has mental illness. So that's one way that I would advocate. There's chapters throughout Northeast Ohio, NAMI.org, and super deep set of resources there. The other thing I would say is just personally, like when we look at each other, and I say, hey, Stephanie, how are you doing? You say, I'm fine. Like, what does that mean? What's fine mean? Maybe, like, if you're willing to just ask an extra one or two questions, you might actually find out, hey, I'm a little tired. I'm bummed out today because, and then just be in each other's lives in a way that's different. So, like, I feel like our mission, our endowment activates us in a way that's really special, but we all have the ability to just be in relationship better than we probably think we are being. And I know that I'll say that for myself personally, that how I regard my friends, the staff at the foundation, and my family is like, just be more present, set the phone down, and look at each other. Don't put something between us. That's what I would say to that.
We all have a lot to learn, no doubt. If a family needs resources, they can contact you. Do you help connect people with other resources?
So our main focus is to grant to nonprofit organizations, and families that would need resources ultimately would get it from those nonprofits that we support. And then a lot of our investments too are thinking long term about how we can scale sustainable solutions. And this sounds wonky, and but really allowing for better efficiency in how a hospital or a doctor's office or Medicaid can support better services than is currently available. Like, how does a primary care physician or a pediatrician, how can they be better equipped to identify that early onset of anxiety that ultimately, in the case of my daughter Emma's situation, resulted in significant some self-harm? Was there a way to maybe have identified that earlier through screening tools? They exist, but does a pediatrician know how to use them? And so there's an opportunity there to just make professionals better.
And how do even parents recognize some of that stuff too? Because I think a lot of us would say, oh, I had those jitters when I did that too. And unfortunately, we kind of talk it down and not say, let's talk about that. Those are very valid feelings.
Those jitters are different for this generation and even for us as adults than it was when we were growing up. When I think about myself and the jitters I had, it's a whole different level for information. I mean, we could get in a whole topic of information, social media, all that, but it's more than just that. Like, it's different now.
And you just said the key words, which is now social media, which is what we did not have, any of us sitting here, had when we were growing up. And now you throw that on top of it, that some of these kids, a mistake at school or anything now is all over for everybody to see. And then they're also seeing the things that they're missing out on, and they're not included, and it's just really exaggerates everything so much more. More work to be done. Are you going to Washington anytime soon with these big discussions?
I'll be on a call with my group this afternoon. There's folks in that group that sometimes have better finesse than I do, because I have a bias to action and an impatience around politics. So that's, yes, I will be. I'll just say that.
Rick, Courtney, thank you both for being with us. Good luck with this with the gallery itself in general, but this new display too sounds remarkable. Thank you. And amazing. And thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Steph. We appreciate you.
And congratulations to your daughter and her wife, and good luck with the new baby.
Yep, thank you very much.
Grandpa.
Thanks. Yeah, that's
Enjoy.
Yeah.
That's such a blessing, blessing. Thank you both.
Thanks.
We appreciate this discussion. For more on PEGS, you can go to fox8.com. In the meantime, I thank you for being with us on Fox 8 Extra. We will see you again next week.